The Valari had never known war. For 10,000 years, they lived in peace on their beautiful world called Noria. They were gentle creatures with soft blue skin that glowed faintly in the dark. Their bones were hollow like birds, and their voices sounded like music. They built great libraries and wrote poems about the stars. They believed that all intelligent life must surely be peaceful like them. They were wrong. The Keth Empire came without warning. One morning, the sky above Noria turned dark with ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. The Keth were massive creatures covered in thick gray armor that grew from their own bodies. They had conquered 12 star systems. They had destroyed entire species. And now they wanted Noria. Elder Areem stood in the High Council chamber as the first Keth message played. The alien voice was cold and hard, like metal scraping against stone. You will surrender your world. You will serve the Empire. Those who resist will die. You have one day to decide. The council members looked at each other with fear in their large, dark eyes. They had no weapons. They had no soldiers. They had nothing but hope, and hope was running out fast. What can we do? Asked one of the younger council members. Her voice was shaking. Elder Areem walked slowly to the window. Outside, Valari children were still playing in the gardens. They did not know that death was coming. He thought about all the generations before him, all the knowledge, all the art, all the love. Was it all going to end here? Then he remembered something. An old story. A legend, really. Long ago, when the Valari first reached the stars, they built a beacon. It was a simple thing, designed to send a message across the galaxy. A cry for help that any species could understand. They had never used it. They had never needed to. Most Valari had forgotten it even existed. There is one thing, Areem said quietly. The ancient beacon. The council fell silent. It is just a myth, someone said. No, Areem replied. It is real. I have seen it. Deep beneath this very building, in the old chambers. We can send a message. A call for help. But who would answer? The galaxy does not care about us. Other species are too weak or too afraid of the Keth. Areem closed his eyes. We must try. Even if no one comes, we must try. It is better than waiting to die. They found the beacon in a dusty room that had not been opened in 300 years. The machine was old, but still worked. Areem placed his hand on the control panel and spoke the words that would be sent across the stars. We are the Valari of Noria. We are peaceful. We have never harmed anyone. But an enemy has come to destroy us. We cannot fight. We cannot run. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. We are dying. The beacon pulsed with light. The message flew out into the darkness of space, bouncing from star to star, spreading in all directions like ripples in water. Then they waited. Far away. So far that light itself would take years to travel there. A young woman sat at a computer screen. Her name was Una Park, and she was a lieutenant in the Earth Defense Command. Her job was to listen to the silence of space and watch for anything unusual. It was a boring job. Most nights, nothing happened. She drank coffee and read reports and tried to stay awake. But tonight was different. A signal appeared on her screen. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Then she looked closer. It was not random noise. It was a pattern. A message. Her heart began to beat faster as she ran the translation program. The alien language slowly became words she could understand. When she read the message, her hands started to shake. We are dying. Please help us. Una grabbed her phone and called her commander. Then she called the commander above him. Within 1 hour, the message had reached the highest levels of Earth's military. Admiral Minho Kong was sleeping when his phone rang. He was 62 years old with gray hair and a face marked by decades of service. He had fought in 3 wars. He had lost friends. He had given orders that sent young people to their deaths. He was tired of fighting, but when he read the message from the Valari, something woke up inside him. Something old and powerful. He thought about his grandfather, who had survived a terrible war long ago. His grandfather used to say, "When someone asks for help, you help them. That is what makes us human." Minho made his decision in less than a minute. He called the War Council together. They met in a room deep underground, surrounded by screens showing the positions of every human ship in the fleet. "We have received a distress call," Minho said. "An alien species called the Valari is about to be destroyed by the Keth Empire. They are asking for help." "The Keth are dangerous," said one of the generals. "We have heard stories. They have never lost a war." "Neither have we," Minho replied. "This is not our fight. These aliens are strangers to us." Minho looked at the general with cold eyes. "Every fight against evil is our fight. If we ignore this call, what does that make us? We did not survive Earth just to become cowards." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Minho meant. Earth was a death world. Humans had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. Earthquakes, floods, diseases, predators. The universe had thrown everything at humanity. And humanity had refused to die. Now another species needed their help. Minho stood up straight. "Wake the fleet. All of it. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot. We are going to war." The order went out across the solar system. On Mars, on the moon bases, on the space stations orbiting Jupiter, humans received the call. They left their beds. They put on their uniforms. They prepared their weapons. Lieutenant Una Park watched from her station as hundreds of ships began to move. Lights flickered on across the darkness of space. Engines roared to life. She thought about the Valari, so far away, waiting and hoping. "We are coming," she whispered to herself. "Hold on, we are coming." The largest fleet in human history began its journey to the stars. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had a word for planets like Earth. They called them death worlds. Places so dangerous that intelligent life should never be able to survive there. Most species evolved on calm, gentle worlds with stable weather and few predators. Earth was nothing like that. On Earth, the ground shook and split open without warning. Mountains exploded with fire. The weather could change from burning heat to freezing cold in a single day. The water was filled with creatures that had hundreds of teeth. The land was ruled by predators that hunted in packs and never stopped. Even the smallest insects could kill with a single bite, and yet humans had survived. More than survived. They had become the most dangerous predators on the entire planet. They learned to use tools and fire. They built shelters and weapons. They hunted the creatures that hunted them. When the world tried to kill them, they fought back and won. This was the species that was now going to war. Captain Sun Wu Li stood on the bridge of his ship, the Tay's Indomitable. It was a massive vessel, longer than 3 football fields, covered in thick armor and bristling with weapons. Sun Wu was 38 years old, with a calm face and steady hands. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He had never lost a battle. His crew was gathering around him. These were the people he trusted with his life. Commander Hannah Yoon was his tactical officer. She was small and thin, but her mind was sharp like a blade. She had spent 10 years in special forces before joining the fleet. She knew 100 ways to kill an enemy and 1,000 ways to outsmart them. When she looked at a battlefield, she saw patterns that others missed. Chief Engineer Do-Yun Choi was a giant of a man with hands as big as dinner plates. He treated the ship's engines like they were his children. He talked to them, fixed them, and pushed them harder than they were designed to go. Other engineers said it was impossible to run reactors at 120% power. Do Yoon did it every day. Dr. Narration was the combat medic. She had soft eyes and a gentle voice, but she had seen more death than most people could imagine. She had pulled soldiers back from the edge of dying. She had held their hands when there was nothing more she could do. She carried their memories with her everywhere she went. These were just 4 of the 50,000 humans preparing for battle. Each one had their own story. Each one had their own reasons for fighting. But they all shared something in common. They were human. And humans did not abandon those who needed help. Admiral Minho Kong appeared on every screen across the fleet. His face was serious, but not afraid. He spoke slowly so every word would be heard clearly. Soldiers of Earth, today we received a call for help from a species called the Velari. They are peaceful people. They have never hurt anyone. And right now, they are about to be destroyed by an empire that sees them as nothing more than slaves. He paused. Every ship was silent, listening. The Keth think they are the strongest force in this galaxy. They think no one can stop them. They have never met us. A small smile appeared on his face. We are humans. We survived a planet that tried to kill us for 200,000 years. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We survived everything the universe threw at us, and we came out stronger. Now someone is asking for our help, and we are going to answer. His voice grew harder. The Velari do not know us. They do not know what we can do. But the Keth are about to find out. Show them what happens when they threaten the innocent. Show them what it means to face the children of Earth. The channel closed. For a moment, there was silence across the fleet. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then another. Soon the sound filled every ship like thunder. On the Indomitable, Sun Wu turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. Let us go to work. Hannah pulled up star maps on the main screen. The Velari homeworld is in the outer reach, 17 light years away. At maximum speed, we can be there in 6 hours. The Keth fleet is estimated at 300 ships, Do Yan reported. We have 112. Good odds, Sun Wu said calmly. Some people might have thought he was joking. He was not. Humans had fought against worse odds before. They had Dr. Nari repaired the medical bay. She checked her supplies and made sure her team was ready. She knew that some of the soldiers she was looking at right now would not survive the coming battle. But she also knew that every one of them understood the risk. They were going anyway. Deep in the ship, Marines were checking their weapons and armor. Sergeant Junho Beek walked among them like a father watching his children. He was 45 years old, with scars on his face and hands. He had fought in boarding actions against pirates and rebels. He knew what close combat looked like. Listen up, he said to his squad. The Keth are big. They are tough. But they have never fought humans before. They do not know about our training. They do not know about our teamwork. They do not know that we do not give up. Ever. Private Suji-Han checked her rifle for the 3rd time. She was young, only 22, but her eyes were serious. She had joined the military because she wanted to protect people. Now she was going to get her chance. Sergeant, she asked, what if there are too many of them? Junho smiled. Then we will just have to kill them faster. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. 112 ships vanished from Earth's solar system in a flash of light. They were traveling faster than anything should be able to move, bending space itself to cross the vast distances between stars. Inside the ships, humans ate their meals and wrote messages to their families. Some prayed. Some played card games. Some simply stared out at the strange colors of hyperspace and thought about what was coming. Sunwoo stood alone on the observation deck of the Indomitable. He looked at the swirling lights outside and thought about the Velari. He had never met them. He did not know what they looked like or how they lived. But he knew they were afraid. He knew they were waiting for someone to save them. "We are coming," he said quietly to the stars. "Just hold on a little longer. 6 hours." That was all that stood between the Velari and hope. 6 hours until the Deathworlders arrived. The Keth had no idea what was about to hit them. Elder Orim had not slept in 3 days. He stood at the window of the High Council chamber and watched the Keth. Ships circle his world like hungry birds, waiting for their prey to die. The deadline had passed. The Keth would attack any moment now. The beacon had been silent. No one had answered their call. Perhaps the message had not reached anyone. Perhaps no one cared. Perhaps the Velari were truly alone in this cold universe. He thought about the children in the shelters below the city. They were scared and confused. Their parents had told them everything would be okay, but even the youngest ones knew something terrible was happening. Orim wished he could tell them the truth. He wished he could say that heroes were coming to save them, but there were no heroes. Only Death Dot, then the sky changed Dot at first. Orim thought his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. A point of light appeared in the darkness of space, far beyond the Keth ships. Then another. Then 10. Then 50. Then so many that he could not count them. The lights grew brighter. They were getting closer. Fast. Alarms began to ring across the Keth fleet. Their commanders shouted orders. Their ships turned to face this new threat. And then the human fleet arrived. 112. Warships burst out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They were like nothing the Velari had ever seen. Dark metal and sharp angles. Weapons bristling from every surface. Moving together like a single creature made of iron and fire. Orim fell to his knees. Tears ran down his glowing blue face. Someone had heard them. Someone had come. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Songwoo Lee looked at the enemy fleet on his screen. 300 ships. Just as the reports had said. The Keth vessels were massive, each one covered in organic armor that made them look like floating insects. "They outnumber us 3-1. Henna reported calmly. "Then it is almost a fair fight." Sun Wu replied. Admiral Kang's voice came through the fleet communications. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang. Weapons free. Show them what we are made of." Every human ship opened fire at the same moment. The darkness of space lit up with weapons fire. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy beams cut through the black like lightning. The first line of Keth ships exploded before they even understood what was happening. The Keth commanders were confused. They had expected the usual pattern of galactic warfare. Careful positioning. Slow advances. Negotiation between attacks. That was how every other species fought. Humans did not fight that way. The Terran fleet charged straight into the enemy formation. They did not wait for the perfect moment. They did not try to find safe positions. They attacked with everything they had, all at once, with no thought of retreat. Sun Wu pushed the Indomitable forward at full speed. "Take us into the middle of their fleet." "Sir, that will put us in range of at least 40 enemy ships," Delian said from his station. "I know. Do it anyway." The Indomitable dove into the heart of the Keth formation, like a wolf jumping into a pack of enemies. Heine's fingers danced across her controls, firing weapons in all directions. She did not miss a single shot. Enemy ships exploded around them, their burning pieces spinning away into the void. On the surface of Noria, Elder Orim watched in disbelief. The Velari had never seen violence like this. They had no word for the way humans fought. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. A Keth warship tried to break away from the battle and head toward the planet. A small human ship, barely a quarter of its size, flew directly into its path. The human ship launched everything it had, then continued forward even as enemy fire tore into its hull. The Keth ship exploded. The human ship, badly damaged but still flying, turned to find another target. "They are insane," Arim whispered. "These creatures are absolutely insane." The Keth High Commander watched from his flagship as his fleet fell apart. This was impossible. His ships were stronger. His weapons were more powerful. His warriors were the terror of the galaxy. How were these small, soft creatures defeating them? He opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Unknown vessels. I am High Commander Borth of the Keth Empire. You are interfering with Imperial business. Surrender now, or we will destroy you all." Admiral Kong's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had finally found worthy prey. "This is Admiral Minho Kong of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We do not surrender. We do not retreat. And we do not forgive those who prey on the helpless. You came here to destroy innocent people. Now you will learn what happens when humanity goes to war." He cut the communication. The battle continued for hours. The Keth threw everything they had at the human fleet. They launched waves of fighters. They fired their most powerful weapons. They tried to ram human ships with their own vessels. Nothing worked. Human pilots flew through storms of fire without flinching. Human gunners found weak points in enemy armor that the Keth themselves did not know existed. Human engineers kept damaged ships fighting long after they should have been dead. On the Indomitable, a missile struck the lower decks. Fire spread through the corridors. Dao Hyun ran through the flames without protective gear, his skin blistering, to reach the emergency controls. He sealed the damaged sections and rerouted power with his burned hands. "Engines at 90%, he reported through gritted teeth. "We can still fight." Dr. Nari treated the wounded as they came to her medical bay. Some had terrible burns. Some had broken bones. Some had pieces of metal sticking out of their bodies. Every single one of them asked the same question: "When can I go back to my station?" This was what the Keth did not understand. Humans were not just strong. They were stubborn. They did not know how to give up. Pain only made them angry. Fear only made them more dangerous. As the battle entered its third hour, the Keth fleet began to break. Ships started to retreat. Commanders abandoned their positions. The perfect formation that had surrounded Noria collapsed into chaos. Admiral Kong watched the enemy flee and felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. The battle was not over yet, but the result was no longer in doubt. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, and the message was clear: do not threaten the innocent. The Deathworlders are watching. The Keth flagship was called the Eternal Conquest. It was the largest ship in their fleet, a mountain of metal and organic armor that had destroyed entire civilizations. Its commander, High Commander Borth, had never lost a battle in 40 years of war. Today, he was about to lose everything. Sergeant Junho Beek stood in the airlock of his boarding shuttle as it flew toward the enemy flagship. 20 Marines stood behind him, their faces hidden behind combat helmets, their hands steady on their weapons. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Remember your training," Juno said through the squad channel. "Stay together, watch each other's backs, and do not let any of them reach the bridge." The shuttle slammed into the side of the Keth ship. Metal screeched against metal. Cutting torches burned through the enemy hull. Then the airlock opened, and the humans poured inside. The first Keth soldier they met was enormous. It stood almost 3 meters tall, covered in gray armor plates that grew from its body like a second skin. It carried a weapon that could cut a human in half with a single shot. Private Suji Han shot it twice in the face before it could raise its weapon. It fell backward and did not move. Move forward, Chun-Ho ordered. Secure the corridor. The Keth ship was like a maze of dark tunnels. The air smelled wrong, thick and heavy with strange chemicals. Strange sounds echoed through the walls. But the Marines did not slow down. They had fought in worse places. A group of Keth warriors appeared at the end of the corridor. They roared and charged at the humans, expecting their size and strength to crush these small invaders. They were wrong. The Marines worked as a team, each one covering the others. They aimed for weak points in the Keth armor, the joints, the eyes, the soft areas under the arms. Their shots were precise and deadly. Within seconds, every enemy was down. These are supposed to be the most feared warriors in the galaxy? Suji asked as she stepped over a body. They have never fought us before, Chun-Ho replied. Keep moving. On the Indomitable, the battle outside continued. Captain Sunwoo watched as another Keth ship broke apart under human fire. The enemy fleet was crumbling, but some ships were still fighting hard. They are protecting the flagship, Hana reported. If we can take that ship, the rest will surrender. Sunwoo nodded. Tell Sergeant Beak to move faster. We need that bridge. Inside the Eternal Conquest, the Marines pushed deeper into the ship. The Keth sent wave after wave of soldiers to stop them. Each wave failed. One Keth warrior managed to grab a Marine by the throat. Before it could crush him, 3 others were on it, pulling it away, hitting it with everything they had. Humans did not leave their people behind. Private Suji took a plasma burn to her shoulder. The pain was terrible, like fire spreading through her body. She fell against the wall, gasping. Suji is down. Someone shouted Chunho was at her side in seconds. He looked at the wound. It was bad, but not fatal. Can you walk? Suji gritted her teeth and pushed herself up. I can fight. That is what I wanted to hear. They kept moving. Suji fought with one arm hanging useless at her side, her other hand firing her weapon without pause. She was young and scared and in terrible pain, but she was human. Giving up was not in her nature. That the Velari were monitoring human radio signals from the surface of Noria. They heard everything. The shouting, the gunfire, the screams of the wounded, and through it all, the calm voices of Marines reporting their progress. Elder Oreen sat in the council chamber, listening with growing amazement. The humans were taking wounds that would kill a Velari instantly. And they were still fighting, still moving forward, still refusing to stop. A Velari scientist analyzed human biology data collected from the battle. His hands were shaking as he read the results. Their bodies produce chemicals during combat, he reported. Adrenaline, cortisol, endorphins. These substances reduce pain and increase strength. Their hearts beat at rates that would cause our hearts to explode. Their muscles can push past normal limits for extended periods. He looked up at the council with fear in his eyes. They are designed for war. Evolution made them into perfect soldiers. They do not just fight despite pain and fear. They fight better because of it. On the Keth flagship, High Commander Borth retreated to the bridge. He sealed the doors with emergency locks. Around him, his officers were panicking. They could hear the humans getting closer. How is this possible? Borth demanded. They are small. They are weak. Our warriors are superior in every way. But they were not superior. Borth understood that now. The Keth were strong, yes. But humans were something different. Something the galaxy had never seen. The doors to the bridge exploded inward. Sergeant Chunho walked through the smoke, his armor covered in burns and blood, his weapon raised. Behind him came his Marines, equally battered but equally ready to fight. Borth drew his personal blade. It was a weapon passed down through his family for generations. He had killed dozens of enemies with it. Junho shot him in the leg. Borith fell to his knees. The Keth Empire does not surrender. Borith snarled. Junho stood over him. You do not have a choice. He turned to his squad. Secure the bridge. Tell the Admiral we have control of the flagship. Outside, the remaining Keth ships saw what had happened. Their invincible commander was captured. Their greatest ship was taken. The will to fight left them all at once. Some ships surrendered. Others tried to run. The human fleet hunted down those who ran, capturing or destroying them one by one. When the battle finally ended, the numbers told the story. 167 Keth ships destroyed. 43 captured. The rest had fled into deep space, never to threaten anyone again. Human losses. 11 ships. 2,000 lives. On the Indomitable, Dr. Nari worked through the night treating the wounded. She saved lives that should have been impossible to save. She lost some patience despite everything she tried. Each death hurt her, but she did not stop. There were more people who needed her. Captain Sonwu stood on the bridge as the sun rose over Noria for the first time in days. The Velari homeworld was safe. The enemy was defeated, but there was no celebration. Sonwu thought about the 2,000 humans who would never go home. Each one had a name. Each one had a family. Each one had died so that strangers on a distant world could live. Admiral Kang sent a simple message to every ship in the fleet. Well done. Now let us bring our people home. The war was won, but the cost was heavy, and the galaxy would never forget what it had witnessed. The first human to set foot on Noria was Admiral Minho Kong. He walked down the ramp of his shuttle slowly, his boots touching alien soil for the first time in his life. The air smelled different here, sweeter, cleaner, like a world that had never known pollution or war. Elder Orim waited for him at the bottom of the ramp. The old Velari was trembling. For 3 days, he had watched the battle in the sky. He had seen impossible things. Now the beings who had saved his people were standing in front of him, and he did not know what to say. My NHO stopped a few steps away from Orim. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. They simply looked at each other. Two creatures from different worlds, different bodies, different lives. But something connected them now. A bond forged in fire. You came, Orim finally said. His voice was barely a whisper. You actually came. Minho nodded. You called for help. We answered. But why? Tears were forming in Orim's large, dark eyes. We are strangers to you. Our world has nothing to offer your people. We cannot pay you. We cannot serve you. Why would you risk so much for us? Minho looked around the beautiful world of Noria, the towers of crystal and light, the gardens filled with flowers and colors he had never seen, the sky clear and bright now that the Keth ships were gone. He thought about Earth, so different from this place, harsh and dangerous and full of suffering, but also full of people who helped each other. On our world, he said slowly, we have a belief. It is very old. It says that when someone needs help, you help them. Not because you will get something in return. Not because they are important. Simply because it is the right thing to do. Orim stared at him. Even if it costs you everything? Minho thought about the 2,000 humans who had died in the battle. Young men and women who would never see home again. He thought about their families waiting on Earth, not yet knowing that their loved ones were gone. Yes, he said, even then. Because if we do not help others when they need us, what is the point of being strong? What is the point of surviving if we become monsters in the process? Orim fell to his knees. Around him, other Velari were gathering. They had come out of their shelters, out of their homes, to see the beings who had saved them. Thousands of them filled the streets, their glowing blue skin reflecting the sunlight. "You are not monsters," Orim said. "You are the opposite of monsters. You are heroes." Minho shook his head. "We are not heroes. We are just humans. This is what we do." Over the next few days, the human fleet remained in orbit around Noria. They helped repair damaged buildings. They shared food and medicine. Human doctors worked alongside Vilari healers to treat the wounded. Human engineers helped restore power to areas of the planet that had been damaged by Keth attacks. Captain Sun Wu walked through a Vilari city with Commander Hana at his side. Children followed them everywhere, fascinated by these strange creatures who had fallen from the sky to save them. Some of the children reached out to touch Hana's hand. She let them. "They are so small," Hana said quietly. "So fragile. How did they survive out here for so long?" "They avoided war," Sun Wu replied. "They made peace with everyone they met. It worked until they met someone who did not want peace." Hana nodded. "Then we came. Then we came." Private Suji Han was in a hospital on the surface, her shoulder wrapped in bandages. The Valari doctors were amazed that she was already trying to stand up. They told her that her wound needed months to heal. She told them she would be fine in a few weeks. Dr. Nari visited her every day. "You fought well out there." "I was scared the whole time," Suji admitted. "Being scared does not mean you are weak. Being scared and fighting anyway is what makes you brave." On the Indomitable, Sergeant Junho Beek held a ceremony for the Marines who had died in the battle. He read their names one by one. 14 of his soldiers had not come back. 14 families on Earth would receive the worst news of their lives, but 14 names would be remembered forever. Chief Engineer Do-Yoon Choi finally allowed a doctor to treat his burned hands. He had been working nonstop since the battle ended, refusing to rest until every ship in the fleet was repaired. Now he sat in the medical bay, his bandaged hands resting in his lap, and allowed himself to sleep for the first time in 4 days. News of the Battle of Noria spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species heard the story. The Velari had sent a desperate call for help, and the humans had answered. The terrible Keth Empire had been defeated by creatures from a death world who fought without fear. Some species were afraid. If humans could destroy the Keth so easily, what could they do to others? But most species felt something different. Hope. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had protectors. Beings who were strong enough to fight evil and good enough to fight for others. The Keth Empire sent a message to Earth 1 week after the battle. They demanded payment for their lost ships and soldiers. They threatened revenge. They promised that humanity would suffer for interfering in their conquest. Admiral Kang read the message and laughed. Then he sent a reply that was broadcast on every frequency in the galaxy. To the Keth Empire. You came to destroy innocent people. We stopped you. Now you demand payment. Our answer is simple. Come and take it. The Keth never responded. Their empire began to collapse as other species they had oppressed rose up against them. Without their image of invincibility, they were nothing. Elder Orim visited Admiral Kang before the human fleet departed. He brought a gift, a small crystal that contained all the knowledge of the Velari people. 10,000 years of history, art, science, and philosophy. This is everything we are, Orim said. We want you to have it, so that humanity will know us, so that our friendship will last forever. Minho took the crystal gently. We will treasure it. The human fleet prepared to leave. Ships powered up their engines. Coordinates were set for home. Sunwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable one last time before the jump to hyperspace. Below them, Noria hung like a jewel in the darkness, safe and whole. "Sir," Hana said, "look at the surface." Sunwoo looked. All across the planet, lights were flickering. The Valare were using everything they had to send one final message to the departing humans. It was simple but powerful. "Thank you," Sunwoo smiled. "Take us home." The fleet vanished into hyperspace. Behind them, a world lived that would have died. Ahead of them, a galaxy waited that would never forget what humanity had done. The Deathworlders had announced themselves. And their message was clear. "We are watching. We are ready. And we will come when you need us. Always."